When I get together with my friends, and I've got a story to tell you today. It's called The Day Old Br'er Rabbit Met Old Br'er Coon. And it goes this way. When Br'er Coon was young, he was fast, zoom. He was quick, zoom. And whenever he was hungry, he'd head to the river, with a big, scratchy burlap sack for toting things, called a tote sack, in his hand. As he came down close to the river, out in the water of the river, the frogs would be swimming. They'd see Br'er Coon coming, and they'd say, "Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes." That's your part if you want to help out. Go. Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes. And all the frogs in the river would swim all the way to the bottom. Boogity, 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 boogity. And they'd hold their breath. Br'er Coon would pretend he didn't know anything about frogs. He'd just go walk along the riverbank, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, until he came to his hiding bush. Then he'd hunker down behind the hiding bush and he'd wait, and he'd watch, and he'd watch, and he'd wait. Down at the bottom of the river, pretty soon the frogs would start to run out of air. And so they'd swim to the top of the river, and they'd look up and down the river saying, "Where'd he go?" 3 times, go. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? And right about then, they'd find out. Because Br'er Coon would jump out from behind his hiding bush. Yahoo! Kersplash! He'd land in the water, and he'd scoop up frogs and gather up frogs and pick up frogs and put them in his sack till he had a whole sack full. Then he'd tie a knot at the top of the sack, toss the sack out of the river, scramble out of the river, put the sack on his shoulder, and head for home. Oot-a-doodle-oot-doot-doot-doot. And when he'd get home, he'd say, "Here you are, Ms. Coon, a big batch of frogs for frog stew." That's what they like to eat. And Miss Coon would take the frogs, she'd make frog stew, and they'd have frog stew. Well, that's the way it went. Year after year after year, as Br'er Coon, he began to slow down because there were so many years piled up in his life, and it was getting along springtime, almost summertime. The grass was green, the leaves had come out on the trees, and Miss Coon said, "Br'er Coon, we got friends coming over to visit, and we need a mess of frogs to make some frog stew. You go down there to the river and get us some." Br'er Coon said, "Okay, sweetheart." So he got his big old burlap tote sack for toting things, and he headed for the river, but he wasn't as quick as he once had been. But he kept going, and pretty soon, up ahead there was the river. And out in the river, swimming in the water, was all those frogs. The surface of the river was covered with little bug-eyed frog heads. The frogs looked up and saw him come and said, "Here he comes, here he comes, here he comes." And they swam to the bottom of the river. Boogity, 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 boogity. And they held their breath. Now, Br'er Coon did like he'd done for years and years. He pretended he didn't know anything about frogs, and he headed for his hiding bush. And when he got there, he hunkered down, and he waited, and he watched, and he watched, and he waited. About this time at the bottom of the river, the frogs were starting to run out of breath. So they swam to the top of the river, and the surface of the water was covered with those little green bug-eyed frog heads. They looked around and said, "Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go?" And right about then they found out, because Br'er Coon did like he'd done for years and years. He jumped out from behind that hiding bush. Kersplash. But by the time he got to the water, all the frogs had swum away. He didn't catch a single frog. Well, he had a face as long as a wet week, and he crawled out of the river, and he drug his burlap tote sack for toting things around in the dirt as he headed for home. Crying as he went, "Boo-hoo! Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo, I didn't catch any frogs. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo, don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, before long he got home. He walked in the door and Miss Coon said, "Hello, Br'er Coon, did you bring us a mess of frogs?" He said, "No, honey, I didn't. I didn't catch a single frog." Well, Miss Coon needed some frogs to make some frogs too. She said, "Now you turn right around and you get back down there to that river and you don't come back till you catch us a mess of frogs." And she shoved him out the door and closed the door right behind him. Boom! Just about hit him in the bottom with it. Well, he headed for the river, still crying. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo, don't know what I'm gonna do. He was about halfway to the river when who happened to come along but old Br'er Rabbit. Hop, skippity hop, oh, hop, skippity hop. "Hi, Br'er Coon, how you doing?" "Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Not so good. I didn't catch any frogs. I got folks coming hungry, don't have nothing to feed them, don't know what I'm gonna do." And Br'er Coon just cried and blubbered and blubbered and cried. Br'er Rabbit put his hand around Br'er Coon's shoulders, because that's what a friend might do. And he said, now, Br'er Coon, hush your crying, dry your tears, blow your nose. I got a plan." "You got a plan?" "Okay," said Br'er Coon. And Br'er Rabbit said, "Okay, here's the plan." And Br'er Rabbit leaned up and he whispered the plan into Br'er Coon's ear. "Psst, psst, 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 psst. Down by the river. Psst, 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 psst. Out on the sandbar. Psst, 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 psst. Fall down dead." Now, Br'er Coon had done really good in school and in life ever since he figured out the way to remember something was say it over to himself. And he listened really hard. Down by the river. I know right where that is. Okay. Out on the sandbar. Got it. Know where to go. Fall down dead. Br'er Rabbit, I'm old and I'm slow, but I ain't ready to fall down dead yet, said Br'er Coon. And Br'er Rabbit said, "Psst, psst, 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 psst. Make believe." Make believe. So the plan was set. Br'er Rabbit hopped over in the bushes, hop, skippity hop, oh, yip, plump. And Br'er Coon headed for the river. Like he always did. Kind of slow about these days. Meanwhile, up ahead, the surface of the water was covered with those little green bug-eyed frog heads. The frogs saw him coming, and again they said, "Here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes." And they swam to the bottom of the river. Boogity, 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 boogity. When they held the breath. This time, Br'er Coon didn't go to his hiding bush. He went out on the sandbar right out next to the water. Oh, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. And when he got right up close to the water, he dropped his tote sack, clutched his chest, let out a cry, "Ah!" and fell over backwards. Laid there still as could be. Well, pretty soon at the bottom of the river, the frogs began to run out of air. And so they swam to the top of the river. They looked up and down, calling, "Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go?" And right about then, who should come hopping out of the bushes, hopping down the sandbar, but old Br'er Rabbit. Hop, skippity hop, oh, hop, skippity hop. And when he came alongside Br'er Coon, he stopped and he cried out, "Oh, oh, oh, goodness gravy." Br'er Coon has had a heart attack, and he's plumb died right here on the sandbar next to the water. And he's so old and big and fat. There's more of him than I can bury all by myself. He's my bestest friend in the whole world. I gotta give him a decent burial. What am I gonna do? Boo hoo 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 hoo. Boo hoo hoo. Well, out there beside the river, Br'er Rabbit's crying and carrying on, carried out across the water. The frogs heard Br'er Rabbit, and they swam right up to the edge of the water, and they said, "Do you think we can help?" You can help with that part too. Go. "Do you think we can help? Do you think we can help? Do you think we can help?" Br'er Rabbit looked down and said, "I don't know. Can you hop out of the water and make a ring around old Br'er Coon?" And the frog said, "Well, give it a try. Give it a try. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try." And all those frogs hopped out of the water, made a ring around old Br'er Coon. Br'er Rabbit said, "That's mighty good. Now, can you dig a hole right out from underneath old Br'er Coon?" And again the frog said, "We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try." And the frogs reached out with their frog legs and they began to dig. Boogity, boogity, boogity. You can help with this part. Go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. They sprayed sand every which way. Keep going. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Keep going. Boogity, 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 boogity. And then the sand sprayed back so far, Br'er Rabbit had to move back to keep from getting sand in his ears and his eyes and his nose. And Br'er Coon went about 3 feet down into a hole. The frogs were down there in the bottom of the hole because they'd been digging it, and they stopped digging, and they looked up from the bottom of the hole and they said, "Is it deep enough yet?" Go. "Is it deep enough yet? Is it deep enough yet? Is it deep enough yet?" Br'er Rabbit looked over the edge of the hole, looked down to the bottom and said, "I don't know. Can you jump out?" And the frog said, "Well, give it a try. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try." All those frogs hunkered down. Are you hunkered down? And they got ready and they leaped right out of the hole. Br'er Rabbit looked down and said, "It's not deep enough yet. You'll have to hop back down and dig it deeper." And all the frogs hopped back down in the hole and they kept digging. Go. Boogity, 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 boogity. Sand sprayed out every which way, and Br'er Rabbit moved back to keep from getting the sand in his ears, his eyes, his nose. And Br'er Coon went about 3 feet more down into that hole. By this time,
so he's 6 feet down.
All the frogs were so tired they barely had any breath left. And from way down in the bottom of the hole, the frogs looked up and said, "Is it deep enough yet?" Go. "Is it deep enough yet? Is it deep enough yet?" One more. "Is it deep enough yet?" Br'er Rabbit looked over the edge of the hole, looked down to the bottom and said, "I don't know. Can you jump out?" And the frog said, "We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try." All the frogs leaped and they fell back in. They hopped and they fell back in. They jumped and they fell back in. The frogs couldn't get out of the bottom of the hole. They looked up and said, "We can't get out." Go. "We can't get out. We can't get out. We can't get out." Br'er Rabbit said, "That's what I've been waiting to hear. Br'er Coon, get up and get your dinner." Well, Br'er Coon, he wasn't dead. He was playing possum. He was making believe. And he opened his eyes, grabbed his big old sack, scooped up a big old sack full of frogs, tied a knot at the top of the sack, pitched the sack out of the hole, climbed out of the hole, put the sack on his shoulder, said, "Thank you, Br'er Rabbit." Br'er Rabbit said, "That's what friends are for, helping each other out." And Br'er Rabbit went on his way. Hop, skippity hop, oh, hop, skippity hop. Br'er Coon went home. And he and Miss Coon and all their friends and family had a great big party and a meal of frog stew and a bunch of stories too. And after that, whenever Br'er Coon needed more frogs for frog stew, he knew where there was a hole in a sandbar near the river to get some too. That's the story of the day old Br'er Rabbit helped out old Br'er Coon, and you helped tell it too. Thank you very much. Good job.